sounds of my childhood are the jingles, not so much. I know,
Joy,
not so much the music that they used to play, which I also remember, and I love music and all that. But for whatever reason, the ones that stick out the most are the jingles that we used to on repeat every single day, like from show to show, the same jingles over and over again.
Hello and welcome to Curating Dreams, a creatives podcast. This is episode 9. We hope you've liked our splash of orange so far. And we're still wishing you all of the vitality, all of the exuberance, all of the magic that this life has to offer for you and yours. This is episode 9. We're discussing soundtracks of our lives. In previous episodes, I've introduced you, but it occurred to me that you would want to introduce yourselves. So my name is Tettey, and tell us a bit about yourselves too.
I'm Betty Blay Ackah.
And
that should be enough. I mean, I'm Betty Blay Ackah.
I'm Yibor, Kojo, Yibor.
You guys. Okay, so soundtracks of our lives. I mean, this came to me. I mean, clearly you both know me really well. I'm really into music, goes without saying. So there are times when I think about particular songs or albums, and it almost feels like those songs speak to certain phases in my life, you know. So that was the inspiration for this. Is it, or should we start from what are you listening to at the moment? You.
No, you. Because that will help us to see where you are coming from.
Okay, what am I listening to at the moment? I listen to a lot of jazz when I'm working, which is too much work. Lately, I sleep late, so that's a lot of jazz. I like Jenny Aiko live. So I watch some of her performances. I'm listening to Kes the band. It's a band from Trinidad and Tobago. And since, you know, things are so sober in the world right now, I try to move a little away from my standard genres like soul, folk, so I don't drown myself in my own misery. Yeah. So the soca music is a nice escape for me. How about you guys?
What I'm listening to right now, I'm trying to get back into life because for a long time I've shut out music. I would, when I'm studying, because I've been a student, I do listen to jazz. I like background music that I don't have to participate in and sing along to, and jazz is that for me. But I realize life has passed me by. There's so much music that I haven't heard of, people I don't know about, and I'm now trying to get back into all that. And I'm starting with Ghanaian music, so I'm now rediscovering Ghanaian music. So that's where I'm at.
Oh, your current?
I love Kiddy. I really like, I love Ifya. I feel like she has some serious vibe. Her soul is amazing. Goodness, you know, I like too many things. Like, it's very hard for me to pinpoint specific things. But right now, I'm enjoying Ifya a lot. I'm enjoying Miss V. I like to go back to the old Kojo because that's like
I love Kojo
foundation.
Yeah.
Oh, and I recently heard one of Kwabna's old songs when I used to listen to music, which I was so excited to hear. So I've started listening to old Kwabna music. I don't know if he has anything new, but the old ones. So yeah, I'm rediscovering Ghanaian music.
Interesting.
For me, I think I haven't very much been into music. I mean, as in knowing also who and what. But I know of one Greek artist called Yanni, whose music is super amazing, very
You've
spiritual.
played Yanni for me once.
Yeah, very super amazing. So for outsiders, I think this one person I like to play his music, and it's not something you understand. Sometimes it's very deep and very super surreal, but it's amazing to just listen and then be in your ambience or your background when you are doing something. But here in Ghana, I'm not certain with all the musicians because I'm not very particular. I can listen to anything randomly, and I think I'm open to that. But I like also one good friend of mine. She's Russian, Daria Maminova. And because she is also very spontaneous in her music, she uses anything she finds available to do music. She has 2 or 3 doctors and she composes. She's super cool. her music is also something. Lately, she's been trying to have me translate some of her music into Ga, and then he gets artists from different parts of the world to sing in Ga in their own way that they can sing. And it was amazing. I had a chance to see one of the concerts last month, and it was really beautiful. So music, I love it, but I don't have the categories of which type of music I like. But if it's cool, it's blues, it's jazz, I can tune myself into it. Yeah.
Interesting. And on your on watching her perform, I'm just curious, who would you pay to watch? Because it's one thing to like an artist in your bedroom, and then actually be willing to put, money into seeing them live. Who would you guys like to watch?
It would be Kojo and John Legend. Oh Lord, I would pay to watch John Legend. And if ever Will Smith were to do a stand-up, I'll pay to see that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Will Smith. I know that's not really his thing, but I would pay to watch him do a stand-up.
I think there is a musician in Zimbabwe. Her name is, I always forget, but I have the image in my face. I think I'll really pay to watch her music. And then one in South Africa called something Mohammed. He's also that kind of musician who have small objects, plenty different objects that when he starts doing his music, you'll be like, what is going to happen? And you sit down and you'll be like, wow. Pops Mohammed. That's his name.
It's
Pops.
like an installation.
It's like an installation. It's very spiritual sound. And you sit through, and sometimes it's so heavy on you. You want to stop, go out, and then come back again because just the few you get goes deep into you. And I would love to pay to see him.
There's actually one person I just remembered, Blitz Bazawule. Remember?
The ambassador, yeah. We were in high school with him.
Yeah, I went to one concert he did at Alliance. It was amazing. I would love to attend another one because it's like it's a whole show he puts together, right? There's so much going on and everything is in sync, even though it's very diverse. I love his shows.
But I think it also speaks to him, and there are a number of artists as well like that. His multifaceted skill set. So he's able to bring all of that into play. That creates a whole experience, which is very blatant and unsurprising. But on that, I'm interested in art imitating life and the ways in which we can use music, especially beyond its quote unquote traditional uses. Like you had an exhibition recently, pronounce it, App is Beautiful. Yeah, where there was visual art, there were also performances. So and there was music as well.
I mean, it's also from the concept the main art, the curator, who is also one of the artists, had. I mean, he's been thinking about how to open his house as not just only a studio, but also a space for showing arts, and not only the visual, but also to add 3D, which is sculpture and also performance, because he also by himself writes. So he does poetry. When we used to do it at Nobuke, he used to also share his works. So it came up even with the title of the show, What to Choose, and to consider the topic for which is App is Beautiful. We live here below on earth, and we usually would not consider everything that we look up to see and appreciate, because everything we move around is here, and so we want to just see and take everything we can take here. But once in a while, if you lift up your head and just give a full attention to it, whilst we're discussing, we're like, how much attention do we give up? Like when we look up, how much attention do we give to what we see up? It's going to rain. The weather have changed, and that's where it ends. Or maybe a bird fly or plane, that's where it ends. Can we see beyond that? Can we go a little deeper? Then the conversation began. We're like, let's leave it there. So long as we are getting something to say, then there'll be so many we can get that life can even lead us into. So I can relate this to it being all the ideas we got could be the tracks or the sounds that we can get life into. So I guess it's one of the things I've done this year that I didn't think we were going to get there, because he was supposed to come up the information got to me like a month ago, but I wasn't around, so I could not prepare anything. It was when I arrived back, and then like few days, 3-4 days, I have to quickly put the work together, and then but I was really glad that the challenge, I picked it up and then did it. So it's one soundtrack of life.
And one I enjoyed, and I also particularly like the fact that I mean, we had been speaking about this for many years, and it's great that you actually stopped talking and actually did the do of taking, because we tend to centralize many of the art experiences and events within the capital in Ghana, that is. So to actually do it, take it outside, even though some argue that Nsawam isn't that far, but it's still out,
That's experience like. Is this the first one you've done outside of
Accra? And in terms of visual art, I would say no. I think yes and no. Okay, so I think this one personally, from my own point of view or from my experience, this is the first I have done.
Right.
I've been part of a couple of ones that I didn't do the works myself, that I help in organizing and putting it together. But this one, I was fully part in it, my work, and I have to go there, do the works there, and currently the works are still there. So it feels good. The first day, the boxer's mom, the other artist, the mom was at home, and she was shocked that for almost like 4 or 5 hours, I was still with my grinding machine working, and he kept asking his son, Eyeni, itole, like, won't he eat? Is he not tired? But because I know that I have short days and I need to get a lot done before the time. I don't want pressure, but I love pressure. It's, I love pressure, but I don't want pressure to come before I finally finish the work. So I really did much the first day and the second day, and I started feeling relaxed. So the third, fourth, I know that, okay, now putting just the ideas on how to install the works and then how to finish. But one thing that shocked me myself, was buying a material I am imagining I can use, like from Europe, bringing it here and not knowing the character of the material, but was able to use the material to create that 3D cloud. I only imagined
it all the way from Europe.
And the one I saw and I thought was what did I think it was? I remember
3D.
what. No, but it didn't look like it was. It looked like it was part of the image.
Yeah, the cloud.
But somehow had, on a different dimension of the background.
They did also, the painter also did the cloud in the room. Like this whole place was painted. It was a blue background, but they used white to do the cloud, and there were some little angels sculpture pieces that were fixed on it. And then I also decided to hang one of the cloud, like when you are in the plane and you see the cloud from the skies, it's very vivid, like cotton that you can touch and then maybe pull some out. That was the image I had in mind. So I took a lot of videos whilst up in the sky. So I will juxtapose it to what I've done. But I totally forgot that I should have taken the video landscape because I had a VR, the VR set. So I would put the pieces together and then have people sit down under the cloud and then watch also the cloud in the air and then watch the physical cloud and then feel the 3D cloud as well. But then after I got the videos joined together, I realized it was standing like this. And so if you watch through, you'll see black light so I couldn't use it. But it's built up the soundtrack to what kind of experiences we can have in that lifetime whilst you are there in the exhibition. So if you see it, you understand more and appreciate what I'm trying to explain.
I mean, yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, speaking about music in particular, and as you're envisioning what your classroom would be like, would you be interested in incorporating music somehow in your teaching practice?
Yeah, I mean, I used to teach Spanish, which you remember, and I was teaching Spanish in Ohio, which doesn't have much of a Latin presence. So it was very hard for me you have to transport the students into a certain context for them to appreciate. And I was teaching students who were taking it as a compulsory course. So they didn't want to be there. And some classes were at 8 a.m. with cold winter. I mean, 8 a.m. in the morning. Wow. So they would have to wake up super early, come and sit there. It's cold, it's gray, they are not in a good mood. And you need to transport them into the Hispanic context to make the lessons relevant. So in those settings, it was very easy for me to use music, right? I'll start each class with music. Sometimes I'll put up a video and get some dance moves and force them, teach them some basic salsa steps that I know, or the easiest was bachata. That's so easy. So, and they loved it because you're popping your waist and everything. So it was easy to do that, right? Because the language or what you're teaching would call for that kind of music. So that was a very fun experience for me, and I'm hoping it was fun for the students as well, and not too much torture. Now I'm in a totally different field. I'm going to be teaching social studies, communication studies, development studies, ICT for development and things like that. And I have to be very ingenious about how I inculcate music into that. I don't think it will be as easy as when I used to teach Spanish, but I will make it happen.
Conscious, more.
I know it might have to be if the lyrics are contextual to the lesson at hand, or maybe I'm teaching about a certain country, and so I would bring this away for them to get to know about the culture of that country and how that relates to the lesson. And I would love to do that. I hope I'm ingenious enough to let it be successful.
I think you are.
I hope so.
But on childhood, because I find that there are some, and especially since at the moment my soundtrack is called Ati Antanindrazana Viao. It means, am I home yet? It's my most recent project, available on all streaming platforms. Major.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. And it's about my story and the places I've called home. And quite selfishly, it's most importantly about my mother. So the songs on the project really are a summation of the feelings that come about when I think about home, about the experiences, with all the senses and so on and so forth. And also in some way merging all the sounds I've heard through life, but especially in certain periods in time. And I'm just wondering, are there certain sounds, and it doesn't necessarily have to be music, but, and when I say music, I mean like recorded music, but are there sounds that remind you of childhood in particular, and do like nostalgic, do they bring good or bad memories,
I will attempt to answer this question, but not connected to childhood, because I don't have much memories of my childhood. For some reason, I really don't. But to the idea of sound, lately, I know music. I mean, I like some music, but like I said earlier, I'm not very rhythmic on music. So I'm unable to even sing on some sounds. Even though you consider me to be an artist, I manage most of the time. So I told myself, sound in relations to music is not all the time, or must not always be rhythmic. Even though it appears to be like that all the time, but sound as sound is what originally, as human beings, this language I'm speaking to you is sound. For someone who do not understand English, this will only be sound in the person's ears. And this led me to do this collaboration with Asantua, Poetra Asantua, in my recent show I did December 4th. I was like, I don't need to fully understand music because music is a construct created by someone who decided, by people to a period of time. Now, whilst we sit here, our body resonates a lot of sounds. If we don't say a word, we will still be communicating in sound because we are vibrating a lot of these sounds. So we sat down and then we were just communicating sound. The first level was in silence for like 5 minutes. Audience were watching us, just making sounds. Maybe you could just change your body a little bit. And they could feel that something is sounding either in their mind, their heart, or their eyes, or they could smell something. And I think this is the power that sound has, or sound is to us as humans. And these small details is what we usually must connect ourselves to. The music is always there. It has been recorded. It is sitting there. You can always go back to it, which means it's old and you keep play it. But these ones are the ones that are so fresh, alive, new. It brings you in the moment, and we usually don't experience this. And so it's not different for me to experience this and then also to remember maybe my childhood. That could be like the music recorded down. And so I could easily go back for that. But if I don't remember that and I have this one, I think it's almost the same. And so this is how I'll look at it in answering this question. But I'm beginning now to enter more into using sound. One of the things I did in the show also was, typewriter, the old typewriter. I thought to write a love letter to someone you don't know, for someone you also know, to manifest that love to you when the person meets you, it's going to be interesting. How would the sound of that letter be like? And so I set up a typewriter and typing nothing, but making the sound of that message. And not many people understood that, but for me, it means a lot. And so I think we can manifest sound in different dimensions so long as we bring ourselves a little bit to the place where we can tune in all the frequencies or the signals or waves that are moving right before us every second.
It's crazy where you just took us, Yibor. It makes me think about the power and beauty of meditation, especially when I'm thinking about how you've taken apart sounds, and you're able to, in your mind and also practically, merge them or not, but appreciate each distinct sound and its function or not. That's the some people call it mindfulness, the ability to just.
But actually, there is a name. I send you a test that you watch for me. What's the term? Anthropophony. It's called anthropophony, like the anthropology, the human experience, and then pophony, sound. So the sound that humans we make, we all do it, but we don't know. We all do, and I think let's just find it. It's there right now. You are giving a lot of sounds that I can feel it. Yeah. We can read a little bit more about
What's your childhood?
I have a much less poetic story about the sounds of my childhood. I do remember my childhood a bit. I was in boarding school. And so on vacation, a lot of my friends were in Ackah because my school was in Ackah and I lived in Tema. So I didn't have too many very good friends in Tema. So vacations could be a bit lonely, but I had 4 siblings. So that was good. So and we would spend practically our entire day listening to Joy FM. So sounds of my childhood are the jingles, not so much. I know, Joy, not so much the music that they used to play, which I also remember, and I love music and all that. But for whatever reason, the ones that stick out the most are the jingles that we used to on repeat every single day, like from show to show, the same jingles over and over again. Other good memories I had. So in our living room, we had, these portraits I put in the living room, and they were framed and, in a glass. So you could see your reflection in it. For whatever reason, my siblings and I like to dance. I don't know who influenced who, but we love to dance. So in our listening to Joy and the radio and whatever else, every time there's a music that it has a good beat, wherever you are in the corner of the house, somebody will say, hey, that's me. Hey. Then we all come running to the living room. We each choose like one picture frame that reflects us, and we stand in front of the frame and boogie, we dance. So we are tired. Then we all depart and go back to wherever we were before. So those memories were really nice, like being on vacation from school, hanging with your siblings at home.
Tell us some of the Joy jingles you remember.
Oh, please, don't let me share. I'll spoil this show.
But one of the jingles I remember as Eddie Blay, and I used to remember it word for word, actually, from city to city, radio to radio, until it enters your stereo system, something like that,
Stereo, Is that poetical?
Seriously.
I actually now, my younger son, Nike, when I'm trying to get him to eat, remember, was it Azigiza?
You're revealing your age.
So Nike likes Tom Brown, right? So when I'm trying to get him to eat, I go yo.
And it works.
Nike tea Tom Brown, and he eats.
Wow.
Yeah.
But radio was a huge chunk, not of my childhood. Oh, by the way, I used to be really envious of your home, of how much, in my mind, it was like a constant party. Then
kind of was. Even when we weren't doing well, money wasn't there. Sometimes we go hungry, we boogie. We dance to lift ourselves out of the misery.
And I remember there was a time when you and your sisters were about the same height. And so it was always fun, for parties and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, radio was a huge part of my youth. And even writing lyrics. Actually, in talking about music, there was a phase in my life, I don't know about you guys, where I knew most of their songs on the radio and actually would have like notebooks to write all the lyrics. Am I alone?
I used to do that too. I had little singing notebook. We had these little books. We call the singing notebooks. I don't know if that's what it was called.
The small ones.
The small, narrow ones. Yeah, I had that too.
Yeah. Hey, Dada Bees.
Oh, really?
Singing notebook.
Dada Bees, even if you listen to the radio, you put a pen in it and rewind because you didn't want the battery to die, so you rewind with a pen.
Cool.
Please, not Dada Bees.
No, I get it. Okay. But you worked also in radio.
Oh, yeah. It was...
Tell us.
It's interesting you brought that up. So I had like 3 episodes. My first JOB when I was 18 was in a radio station. It was Vibe FM at the time, 8th floor Trust Towers. And I remember when the lights would go out and the lift stopped working. And I'd have to climb like
that is Ghana.
16 flights of stairs, make it on time and go live. It was an experience. But I was so happy earning my own cash for the first time in my life. There was so much pride that came with that.
I was happy too because I got to chop some. So yes, we're all very happy for her.
It was a serious learning curve for me, and also about the things that happen in media, especially when you're a young woman. It's crazy you bring this question because I've never actually spoken about it, and I guess that things you normalize because as you go along, you see how rampant it is, although it's not correct. But from unfair salaries, especially when you don't know better and you can't argue for yourself, to the sexual harassment, to work not matching promotional where you could possibly go eventually, which is friggin' frustrating. You feel like you're putting in time, but you're not going anywhere. Yeah, but I mean, being around music was awesome. Added to hearing my voice on the airwaves, and my sister calling me and saying, "Hey, you're live! I'm with my friends. We are listening to you." I'm like, yeah, and it suited me perfectly fine, that first job, because of my nature. I was talking much less then. So being in that space with maybe one other person, the production guy, or whoever, but not as animated as TV, for example. And yeah, it helps you to bring out your personality while also keeping your intimacy to a large extent.
Were you playing music?
Playing music, talking. I started with a section. What's it called? A segment called the personal It was on the personal development show, and I had a segment. I actually don't remember what my segment was. So that's how it started.
Oh, okay.
Already deep into like having to do research work. That was a nice entry point. Then I did Atlantis with Kwame Fachi, which was also a great experience. But what's your experience, guys, with new media? Is that what they're called? New media lately? Are your favorite TV shows, radio, music, or they watch any of those?
TV, no.
They're not
Radio.
Those ones would be old.
Oh, excuse me.
Social media.
All right, got you.
Maybe when you start saying yours, I'll be remembering something. So please do.
I mean, I feel like this question would make me the outcast because I haven't had time to be. I've been a student. I've been a struggling grad student. So unfortunately, I don't have that much recent interaction with TV or radio. I'm getting back into the grind of things, but maybe social media because that's how you interact with people. That's how you keep up with the news when you're able to get on it, right? WhatsApp has been quite the savior because then you communicate with family and friends far away. You keep sane and you pray against all the fake news that are rolling around and people seem to be really holding on to so tight. But that has shown a certain side of our society that I don't know if it always existed or it's now emerging, but this very interesting mix of ignorance and fanaticism and people trying to do good, all mixed up in one weird pot and circulating. So WhatsApp, it's an interesting test case. But beyond that, honestly, I'm not very active on even Facebook, which is pathetic because now I'm going to do better.
I don't think you're missing much. I mean, yeah. Yeah, because like you said, it's a lot of sometimes toxicity that you could do without, especially when you have so much else that you want to keep running. But where it works for me is when I have something to market or I mean, essentially, otherwise I try to keep it out of my life to a max.
Yeah. For me, I haven't done TV much or radio, but I still remember when Atlantis started. Because they don't talk much, I do listen to all these country musics and all this cool music, and it was soothing. So that I can say, I love that one. But besides that, I don't know how much of the new media. Yes, so WhatsApp, because we do events, we still have to find a way to also share. Instagram, I got in 2018, same as Twitter. For 1 year or two, I didn't do anything. I only have the account because I didn't know how to navigate myself until last 2 years when we started also the event at theater. And I decided, to activate it and then start some presence. So I think so far, so good. Now I know people get to see things when you share and that, but it took me a while to get into it. I'm also that person, when everything starts, I don't want to be involved. If I should be, it should be a little bit opposite what everybody is doing. So it took me time, but it's happening and it's here with us.
By the way, my dial is constantly on Atlantis. Actually,
still.
I sleep still.
Yeah.
It's because it's the only sure station where I'm not listening to
any other thing,
or there are very few commercials, and the politics. I can't be sure of music throughout the day. There was a question I was going to ask.
I have one.
Okay.
When I hear or resound the name soundtrack of our lives, I'm just trying to see what is the rhythm, what is the soundtrack of our lives besides music, or what would we say is the soundtrack? Maybe it be the routine or something. What is it to you?
What would be Black's anthem one day when he's not gone? Is that it?
Not necessarily. It's
like
just
outside of
like
music.
that.
Like what do you consider to be
the rhythm of your life?
The rhythm of your life. What's like one persistent
something that flows
throughout all
life,
your experiences? At least I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so.
I think change. Change is a common thread.
You are changing a lot.
Or the circumstances, the phases change, especially when I least expect it, and not how I anticipate. For someone who's anxious, that's always like, and And then I realize how ridiculous it is, because the changes are not always detrimental. In fact, they rarely are. Even through the rough, you understand in hindsight why it was that way. So it's yeah. What's yours?
Me, you talking about it now, the question has opened to me again. It's for me, it's more of the change that happens around me. It's so fast, it happens so quickly, and you think like, I've been left here. And sometimes I don't get to see my change vividly, even though I'm changing, but I see more of the changes that happens around me, to the extent that you can just be there and then like people you know, or something that used to happen doesn't happen again, and you're when is it good? It has passed, it's gone, it's not coming again. So this kind of change for me, I think it always go up and come down like ECG, and you know how it is like that, and then it keeps also going like this, even though it's going up and down, it keeps also moving. And I think that I see and I relate it also to how the train system in outside of Ghana, like in Europe, is that every 7 minutes or 12 minutes or 21 minutes one passes. So if you are timing yourself, you are sure that you will meet it. But if you make 1 minute late, it's gone. And that's how speed I see life moving, the changes and the soundtrack. So you know that at this time of this afternoon, I need to be here at this time. If I'm not there, it will go. And that's the speed, that's the rhythm I feel life is going. And sometimes it's scary, and sometimes also encouraging that, okay, you know that this is how it is. And so you need to be able to like catch up if you can. If you can't, don't worry, let it go. And that kind of music is beautiful. Like you see a conductor doing it like that. I mean, it's nice when we see these things and we like can visualize it. Then you can calm yourself down. Even though the money and the opportunity and some things have passed, you are still here and you see this that many people did not see. And you're like, okay, cool. But for me, this is how I'm seeing it.
I see it in two parts, right? But there's also the music parts. There are certain songs that mean something very important, like have immense value for me based on the circumstances. So there's the music. There's my younger son had some health issues when he was a baby, and Dinah Hamilton's Insentreni Yankupong was like my song. It was on repeat because it took a while to get through that. Still getting through, but there was a point when it was really low, and I needed something that would beef up my faith. And so that song it's every time I think about those moments, I think about that song. Or and then after we got through those very low times, there was Million Little Miracles. Ooh, I love that song. And that song became another soundtrack. In fact, he learned to count to that song, because there's a part that says, count your miracles, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count them all. And I used to have that video on all the time. It was on YouTube. So he started learning how to do because he was compelled to watch that song all the time. Because so that there's a music part of appreciating the soundtracks to our lives. But then I think I would like to think that I'm a pretty optimistic person. I think let me know if I'm wrong, but sometimes it's just optimism, sometimes it's faith. It depends on where the winds are turning. But and so that would be like a pretty consistent theme of my life, right? Maintaining optimism. Of course, it doesn't always work. There are times when I get knocked down and it gets knocked out of me, but then it bounces right back and I'm back up. So I'm a pretty optimistic person, which can be quite silly depending on what's going on. And sometimes things look pretty bleak and the people around me think I'm like, shut it down. But that's how I keep going. I maintain my optimism and persistence, I guess.
Nice.
Speaking about this particular soundtrack, how do you both feel about podcasting? Is this something that you would have anticipated? This one. How do you feel about this particular soundtrack?
Which soundtrack?
This one, Curating Dreams.
Oh.
And you in it, I mean, in the frame.
It's just like what I already said. Right now, I'm glad and I'm lucky. I'm in the soundtrack and it's playing right here, and so I'm enjoying it whilst it lasts. If it passes, I probably might forget for some time. But when I see something that connects me back to this soundtrack, I will enjoy that moment again. And for me, this is how I live it. I like it like that.
I see this as a soundtrack to your life. This is so you.
Yeah.
Even the way you introduce the splash of orange, like this is so crystal.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to participate in it. But I must admit, I never expected it. I never thought I'd be a part of it. It's been nice being on the outside and watching her do her thing and giving her props for her. But I never thought it would merge into my life. I never expected to be sitting here on this couch with her, and with you. Having these conversations, right? It was never something I anticipated, but I do see this as like a major part of your life.
It gave me a thrill when I caught you off guard. She was giving me pointers about certain episodes. I'm like, I'm so happy you have so much to say because I have this in mind. That was perfect. So it's like you put yourself in there. So thank you. But yeah, I mean, for me, this is like an extension of real life, playing out in front of the cameras, which I absolutely adore, and I'm thankful for. Thank you for saying yes. Yeah.
Thank you for thinking about us.
I was going to say thank you for thinking us worthy to be part of it.
Yeah.
So this is this particular soundtrack of our lives. And if you've liked the episode so far, do let us know. curatingdreams@gmail.com. Thank you for watching episode 9.